Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim from DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, and today is our last Winter Sports Game for the NES. We're going to be checking out Ski or Die.
Released in 1990, this was developed by, of all people, EA. And back in the day, EA was pretty good at their sports games. And it was published by, well, at least on the NES, by Ultra Games, a division of Konami. It was released for the Amiga, the NES, DOS, and the Commodore 64. And yes, this is almost a spiritual sequel to Skate or Die, because it was made by the same team, and it's Skate or Die in wintertime. What do you want from me? Review time.
So the only thing that this game shares with winter games is the fact that there is multiple events in one package. Other than that, it is very different, and we are so glad to be moving on. So graphically, it's very colorful, it's very 90s, and it's not the most impressive, but with the 5 different events, there's some pretty nice animations. For the rail shooter level, as you can see, you don't see too much that well, but when the kid's up front, you can blast them in the face with snow. Hey Jim, what does that look like you're blasting them in the face with?
Candy?
Is that what your daddy told you?
I'm going with candy.
Anyway, yeah, that level's okay. The other ones are all just your basic winter levels. The snow tubing one is kind of funny with the animations of your guys bouncing up and down out of the tube itself. And everything else
is candy!
And everything else is pretty standard. It is pretty funny that this Rodney Dangerfield lookalike is standing there, and it just so happens his name tag is Rodney. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, as you can see from our breakdown, I gave it a 6, Jim gave it a 5. I'm only going to add 1 beer. I got a kick out of this game.
Alright, the sound. Not a bad little package here. Let's start the sound effects. They're okay. You get a lot of different ones, which is always a plus. Actually, sometimes stuff actually does sound like snow and not just static. So, that's another step in the right direction. The music in the game is pretty damn good.
Of course it is, it's Konami!
Oh my God, he just spit everywhere. The intro music's really cool, and I actually really love the little way that the Skate or Die logo flashed along with every snare drum hit. That's a nice little touch. You don't get music in every single stage. You get them in 3 of the 5, and the music you get's pretty good. You also get music during the game select screens, little jingles in between, when you're starting to get ready, all that kind of crap. It's a nice package. It's, not the best out there, obviously, and I don't see why we couldn't have had music and everything, but I'll take what I can get here. Brian gave it a 7, I gave it a 6, no real complaints here. And I'll add another beer just because we didn't have music and everything.
Alright, so the control for this game it's a mixed bag. 2 of the games control really well, and that's the snowball fight and the snowboarding level. Those are just easy left and right maneuvers, and for obviously a snowball, you just shoot. The skiing levels, they both are really tough, and that includes the hot dog aerials, which, once again, I hate to say it, but kind of like winter games, it was really tough to learn. Not as stiff, but still really tough. The skiing downhill, look at this clip. I literally fell a gazillion times. Now, I'm not going to say that that was the 5 beers I had while playing the game. I'm just going to say the control sucks. And the tubing level. Imagine Rad Racer, just more stiff and with more freeze frames every time something gets done. And a constant rotation of your vehicle. It was pretty rough overall. And as you see from the scores, I only gave it a 5. Jim gave it a 4.
Alright, the gameplay. Control issues aside, there's something weirdly fun about the game. Brian got a pretty good kick out of the game, and you know what, there are parts of this that I enjoyed. The biggest problem with, say, the tubing level is how it just stops every time someone's tube pops. But even though it controls like ass, it's still a weirdly fun game to play against a buddy. And while nothing's great, the overall package is at least playable, and there's something in here that you might wind up liking. Brian gave it a 6, I gave it a 5. I'll add another 2 beers for wasted potential. How about that? At least it's better than winter games.
Alright, and as far as originality, once again, this is just an odd game because although the complete package is something like you haven't seen, if you really break it down, it derives from a lot of different genres in games. Skate or Die created the convention for that menu selection that we originally thought was original, and then we looked back and said, oh shit, they did it back then. The skiing levels, we've seen them in other NES games. Snowboarding we've seen before, although it wasn't quite like this. So the biggest innovation we saw was the snowball fight, and even that is just your typical rail shooter. I think it's just the package and the way it was all delivered together, and really the tube race was something we hadn't seen. I know I compared it to Rad Racer, but hey, I think it's the only game on the NES, and honestly I don't remember many games after this that have you racing someone on tubes and trying to pop each other with forks. So we gave it points where we could. We both gave it a 6. It's not the most original game, but overall as a package, it's at least fresh.
Replayability. Hell, what can I say? There's a lot here. You can keep replaying to beat your scores. You can keep replaying just because you like it. Depending on the game mode, you can have up to 6 different players playing. So if you have a bunch of buddies over, you can all try and go for these high scores. Some of the events might take a little too long for you to want to have a lot of people playing, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, you have a lot of options in this game, and it's the sports game aesthetic, so there's reasons to come back. What the hell? We gave it 8s. I'll add another beer for Rodney Dangerfield. Rest in peace, my friend.
I did get some legit enjoyment out of this game, even more so a little bit than Jim, but at the same time, I tended to be fair with how I scored this. It's a very 90s game, like I said. There's a lot of variety, but the control really drags this game down. And honestly, unless I'm playing with a friend, I am not going to be playing this game alone. It's just not one of those games you'd want to do that to. I would say, as far as winter games go for the NES, this is your best option. No doubt in my mind. Don't waste your time on any of the others. So, as you see, we both gave it 5s. And I'm not going to add any more beer, but I will say it's at the high level of 5s. So, just trust our word on that. Make sure you come back next week for March, when we start our own version of March Madness as we plow through all the NES basketball games. Hooah! Alright, and as far as the beer pairing is concerned, I'm going to have to go with the Shock Top Chocolate Wheat. The design on the Shock Top bottles really kind of reminds me of early 90s labeling, and hey, it's got some snow on it, it's kind of goofy, and it's got some interesting flavors. Whether you're a fan of Shock Top or not, this is actually a pretty tasty beer, and it would go pretty well with a game like this. As always guys, thanks for checking out our video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, or click subscribe. Either way, make sure you leave a comment and let us know what you think. Till next time guys, cheers.